You're listening to Gas Station Business 101 podcast. This is episode number 28.
Welcome to the one and only Gas Station Business 101 podcast, where you can learn all the secrets about how to start and operate a gas station business successfully and make money. This podcast is brought to you by the good folks at GSB Academy Publishing Company. And now, here is your host, Shabir Hossain.
Hello there. Once again, welcome to Gas Station Business 101 podcast. I'm your host, Shabir Hossain, and today's episode is all about how to actually get started in gas station business, how to get your feet wet and finally take the plunge and start your own business. But before we start, let me first apologize for my voice. I've been recovering from a bad case of cold, and it's getting better, but it may sound a little off, so my sincere apology to everybody. This episode, I've decided that we need to discuss how to get started. The reason being, I've been receiving a few emails here and there from people that are listening to my show, that has read my book and many other books and have heard many other business podcasts. So they bring references from other podcasts, other books, and ask me different questions that this book said this and that book said that, but how do I do this? How do I do that? What I have realized is there are people that want to get started, but they have a fear of getting started. So this episode is for people that haven't started their own business yet. And if you have, congratulations. This episode most likely is not for you, but you can still listen. There might be something that you can get benefited from. Now, I'm not saying you should just jump into it with your eyes closed. No, that's not what I'm talking about here. My point is, you need to do your research and do everything else, all the due diligence to soul searching, whatever you need to do those first. Once you know that this is the path you need to take or you want to take, you need to take the plunge and buy a business or get into a business and start running it. If not, you will end up spending months and years learning and listening to shows where we all talk about how to get a business going, how to improve your business, how to grow your business. But until you take the first step, which is getting into a business, none of those other options or none of those other factors will materialize because you haven't taken the first step yet. So again, remember, my grandfather used to say, time and tide waits for none. And that is true. Every day that you're pondering, thinking, I need to buy a business, but I need to make sure it's a good business. I need to make money on this business and all that. Opportunities are being taken by other people that have done the research, that have decided decisively that that's what they want to do, and they are buying those businesses that you should have bought. So, as I said, it is time for you to take the first step. If you haven't done your research, you need to do it now. And don't spend a year doing your research because, as I said, in any of these businesses, it's not a rocket science that you have to learn every little bit. It's mostly common sense approach. Remember, any business, if you take a common sense approach, most likely you will be very successful as long as things make sense for you. And especially in our line of business, which is small business, gas station, liquor stores and whatnot, these businesses do not require any extra skill other than common sense. Anybody with common sense will be a successful person in business. But provided you need to buy a business that is generating profit, or if you know there are opportunities that you can take and flourish that business and make it a profitable business. There are times where we buy a business knowing fully well that that business is losing money right now, but we have a vision, we have a game plan, and we have strategies in place. Once we walk in, we implement those strategies and those game plans and make it a profitable store. I have done it many times, as I spoke about this in previous episodes, and I'm sure most of our listeners have done it as well. So remember, if it is a profitable business, if it's making money, most likely you will be paying a higher price for it. And there are times you can find a business that's not making much money, but if you work hard at it with a very good game plan and strategies and some marketing ideas, I'm sure you will make a go off it as well. Now, as I said, this episode is for those people that are still looking to get into this business. And there are many of you out there who most likely have done enough research already, and I have heard many episodes, many shows, many business books, read many business books. But there are others that are just thinking about getting into a business and haven't done enough research. So since I will be talking to all of you at the same time, so I'm going to lay out a 7-step plan that you may have crossed already number 1, number 2, number 3. Then you can just start from number 4 or number 5, whichever applies to you. Once I lay that plan, you can decide where you need to get started from. So let's dive in. The steps that you need to take to get into a business. The first one is, of course, soul searching, meaning you need to search your own soul, your own brain, and pick your own brain and figure out if this is actually what you want to do. A lot of us got started in this business. Some of us just got into it without any plan because we didn't have a job or we didn't find anything else to do, and there was something out there that we could grab, and we grabbed it. There are others that have planned it well, had the finances set up, and done it well, and started well, and still doing well. And there are others that have the idea in their head, but they haven't done much research. So first thing, if you are one of those that are just thinking about it right now, first thing first, which is do a good soul searching. And you can talk to some of your close friends and peers who are in business, and some of them who are working for a company or has a job. See both sides. Now, if you already have a job and you want to get started in a business, always remember, write down the positives of having a job and the negatives of not having a business. Does that make sense? No, let me clarify. Let's get a piece of paper and you write down all the negatives and the positives of having a job. Then at the bottom, create the same thing for having a business, even though you don't have a business yet. But I'm sure you have seen people that are in business and you think, okay, if I had a business, I wouldn't work 9 to 5. I would have more freedom and whatnot, and I would have more income. So whatever it is you're thinking, write it down and see which side weighs more for you. If having a job, the benefits of having a job is carrying more weight than having a business, then you may not need to get into a business. You may just need to stay in your job and try to improve your job and try to get promoted and move on to a better job. Not everybody is cut out to run a business. And that does not make you a bad person. That does not make you a unsmart person. A lot of smart people are working for a lot of big companies. And most likely, let me rephrase that, most of the smartest people are working for big companies because they're creating different products, different ideas. They're in a lot of different fields. They're not just in computer science. They're in business people, they're accounting people, they're designers. So just because you have a job doesn't make you a bad person or a person that doesn't have what it takes to get into a business. No, not at all. As I said, there are times people get into a business because they don't have any other choice. I know many friends that got into a gas station business because they lost their job. So if they had their job, they would never got into this gas station business. So first thing, as I said, is soul searching. If you're happy in your life right now, in what you're doing, then don't change it. Remember that saying, don't fix something if it's not broken. So if you're happy with your life and whatever you're doing, don't change it. But if you're one of those that are not happy, you want to do something different, you want to create something different, then by all means, do that soul searching, figure out if business will be better for you as or job is better for you. But always remember, business comes with certain degree of risk. Now, I understand from a lot of people, a lot of my friends that are working for different companies, they say the risk of having a job is greater than having a business because they say they can get laid off any given time. They can walk in one fine Monday morning and they will find out they don't have a job. A lot of these things happen to a lot of the people over the last few years because all the turmoils that we've gone through in our economy. So a lot of people, a lot of companies downsized and whatnot. So yes, there are risks involved in jobs as well. You can get terminated for a lot of different reasons. You can get demoted, or the company might just go belly up. You never know. Similarly, getting into a business has a lot of risk also. Not just getting into a business, running a business. Your business can take a nosedive for a lot of different reasons. One fine morning, you can find out that is one of the biggest company just opening up a store, state-of-the-art facility within 500 yards from you. And all of a sudden, your business just goes to them. And you, from let's say $100,000 sales, you drop down to $30,000 sales. So yes, risk is there always, but we accept that risk is everywhere. Life itself is a risk. So as long as you can minimize that risk, you are doing good. So again, once you do your soul searching, figure out if this is what you need to do. And as I said, talk to your peer, means your friends, your family, and people that are in business, people that are working for other companies. Talk to both of these people, both type of people. Figure out what is good and what is bad. And as I said, you can write them all down and see which side weighs more. And if you do decide that, yes, with all the risk, with all the benefits, with all the freedom, I still want to get into a business, especially a gas station business or some type of similar retail business, then the next step you should take is look at your financial situation. Just because I have a dream to get into a gas station business doesn't mean I can get into one tomorrow because it takes money. Well, so figure out what your financial situation is. Again, write it all down. Let's say you have a 401k, NASDAQ, and you have some savings. You know you can borrow some money from some family members, and then look at your credit history, credit records, and your tax returns. Remember from previous episodes where I talked about how to get a loan for a gas station? Remember those requirements? If not, please go back, listen to that show, and you will know exactly what type of documents you require to furnish to the bank in the event you're looking to get a loan to buy your first business. But now, on that note, let me advise you something. If you are just getting into a business and you do not want to spend quite a bit of money, or you don't have access to a lot of money, and if you don't even know if you can get a loan from a big bank, best thing to do is try to find one that you can lease. And again, to get your feet wet, you don't have to buy $1 million store. You can buy something for a reasonably priced lease store that you can get into, pay monthly lease payments, and have a business. Once you see that you're doing well for a couple of years and you understand the business in and out, by all means, venture out to buy more. And then you can go to a bank and say, hey, I've been doing this for 2 years and this is how it looks and this is my financials and I want to buy this next store and I'm buying it with the real estate. So first thing first, my advice is, and that is how I got started, where I leased my first store and I failed miserably, but for a different reason. And I've talked about it on episode 1. But at least I had the chance to learn everything A to Z because I had to do everything by myself. I couldn't even afford to have an employee. So that is important in lot of ways, in a lot of different ways. You need to learn the business from A to Z, meaning from how to clean that restroom in your gas station to how to clean the parking lot how to change the paper in that printer of your cash register, and how to ring up a pack of cigarettes. Everything. You need to learn everything. But we'll touch on that in a little bit later. But again, first thing, you're doing soul searching. Once you decided, yes, I will get into this business, figure out how much money can you bring to the table. This way, you know your budget. Let's say you figured out you have access to about $50,000. Then you know what type of gas stations or small other businesses that you need to be looking for. You cannot go and look for a business that asking price is $1 million. Let's say you're going with a broker, and your broker brings you a list of 5 businesses ranging from $50,000 to $2 million. Don't waste your time looking at the $2 million store, because as of right now, that's beyond your budget. That is out of your budget. When you have $50,000, you can look at a station they're asking $100,000, because you know if you make a deal good enough where you can convince the seller to finance you some part of that asking price, you may be able to get that done and get into that store. So you need to aim high, but you need to know your limit as well. Now, number 3 would be find that business. Meaning, once you've decided you want to get into this business, second, you know how much money you have on hand or access to, then, as I said, you need to utilize all the avenues that I've discussed before, how to find a gas station or small businesses to buy. As you recall, if you recall from my book or from other episodes, that there are online ways and offline ways, and you need to utilize each and every one of those avenues and have a list of businesses that you need to be looking at. But remember to really focus when you look at these businesses. Don't just go spend 3 minutes, look around, say, I don't see any cars in the parking lot, so this may not be a good business. A snapshot of a business for 3 minutes doesn't tell you anything about a business. A $100,000 store, meaning a store that is doing $100,000 a month, may not have any cars for 5 minutes. And maybe you showed up right at those in that 5-minute period where you didn't see anybody. So you're thinking, they're just lying. They're not doing that high. So no, don't do that. Instead, go at different times, sit for a few minutes, even outside the parking lot or somewhere else, watch the business. Figure out what is the traffic flow, when the traffic flows the most. Is it 5 o'clock in the morning, or is it 5 in the afternoon, or is it at night? And then sit down with the seller, look at all their papers and documents and everything else to see if they're telling you the truth. And if you've been listening to my podcast, you know there is an episode dedicated just to how you can tell if the business is making money, due diligence. And I've talked about it in my books as well. But if you need help in figuring out if a business is making money or not, by all means, you can contact me, and I will try to help you out. If you're stuck in a place not understanding the documents that they sent you, I'm here to help, so just ask me. But remember to look at least 3 to 4 businesses before you decide on one, and write down as many points, negative or positive, as you can about those businesses before you talk to the owners. This way, you will have a notebook full of notes. Let's say business number 1, you noticed that there are some issues with the broken parking lot or the lights or the employees and whatnot, and then you saw a surge of traffic at noon. You can put that on the positive side, but still you need to find out why, because if there is a company or there is a industry that a lot of the workers come out on the lunch break and they come to the store for their lunch or whatever it is, you need to find out what brings traffic to the store and what is their busiest time versus what is their slowest time, and a lot of other things. But these are the things, basic things that you need to write down first so you can talk to the owner and find out really what's going on in their business. Of course, it's part of due diligence, but basic things first before you even get a chance to look at their P&L or balance sheet or daily closeouts. These are the observation points that you need to write down. Now, number 4 would be do your due diligence. Whatever we just talked about, you're going to go beyond that now. And let's say, as I said, you looked at 5 businesses and you wrote down all these observation points. Once you meet the owners, they will furnish you some type of financial documents. So combining those financial documents with the observation notes that you have, see if they match up. Let's say, again, the example of lunch crowd. If you see that this store sells some type of food, you need to see how much food do they buy versus how much they sell. And if there are other opportunities to bring them back in again at 5 o'clock, those are opportunities for later. But again, your creative brain should be thinking, okay, if he's doing this, then I can add this or advertise this and bring them back and make some more. But those are the notes that you need to take for yourself. So always remember, whenever we look at a business, we always think, oh, I can do much better than this. But also remember and to think, what if I do worse than whatever he's doing? Would I be able to survive? So think both ways. I know our inner self always wants to think that we can do better than others, which is true, and this is how we should think positively. But when looking at a business and trying to buy a business, it helps to think negatively as well. What if? Always remember, what if it goes down? What happens then? How do I survive? So due diligence is the biggest and most important thing you can do when you're buying a business. And as I said, I've spoke about it many times. So follow those guidelines where you can look at their P&L, their balance sheet, and everything else. But still, it may not give you the exact picture. And for that, you may have to just look at their daily closeouts. Meaning, remember, every store has a register, cash register, 1 or 2, doesn't matter. And those registers print out some reports every night or every morning for the whole day's report. You need to look at those reports very carefully and match it with their purchase receipts, meaning the invoices that they get from their vendors. And you need to do your own calculation. Okay, if this business has sold $100,000 last month, looking at their sales figures, how much did they buy? And knowing the profit margin, you should figure out that, okay, the store should have bought at least $60,000 worth of merchandise. Have they bought that? If not, let's say you saw they only bought $40,000 worth of merchandise, then most likely they didn't sell $100,000 worth of stuff, and it may be a problem there. So as I said, due diligence is the most important part of your business buying process that you need to invest time, energy, and money on. You may even have to get help from an accountant, from a CPA. Since this is one of the most important aspects of your buying a business, so it should be money well spent. Even if you need to hire a CPA, as I said, or an attorney, go through everything that they provide and find out the real picture and the truth about that business. So if you have a list of 4 businesses, go through every one of them and find out how much they're actually doing business-wise, and then figure out their expenses and all the cost of running that business, and see if you ran that same business, how much money you would be able to make, how much money you would be able to take home. See how much they're making, and then write down or calculate your own way of doing the business and see if there is a huge difference between what they're making versus what you should be making. And again, if there is a huge difference, you need to investigate that as well. Maybe you can sit down with the owner and say, in my calculation, this is the end numbers, whatever that number is, and let them defend themselves. But listen to them very carefully and listen for the sign of lies. Yes, there are people that are selling businesses. They do lie oftentimes, but it is your job, your responsibility to listen to those lines and figure out which ones are lies and which ones are not. But as long as you have done your due diligence and as long as you know the numbers, the real numbers, remember, as I said, they can furnish you all the sales, P&Ls and balance sheet and everything else. But if you're looking at their actual purchase invoices, then you know by percentages how much they should be selling for. So as I said, if they provide you with only $40,000 worth of invoices for a month, and they're telling you that they sold $100,000 worth of product, you know there is a problem, because nobody can buy $40,000 worth of merchandise and sell it for $100,000. That's not possible in our line of business unless you're buying a pack of cigarettes for $1 and selling it for $3, which is hundreds of percentage of profit margin, which is not possible. So investigate and you will find the truth. Now, step number 5, buy the business. Once you have done the hard work, you have done your soul searching, you have done your financial budget, you found that business, and you've done your due diligence, it's time to buy that business. Again, if you had 4 businesses in your list and you've looked at every one of them, you've talked to all the owners, and you've investigated every number that they provided you with, and you've taken help from, let's say, a CPA or an accountant or somebody that you know is an expert in those fields, this is the time that you need to, again, take a piece of paper, write down the positives of that business and the negatives that you've seen in that business. And I'm talking about business number 1. Same thing, another piece of paper, business number 2. Write down the positives that you've noticed in that business, including how much money that business is making and how much you think the business should make if you ran that business. Again, on the other side, write down the negative points that you've seen about that business. It could be like poor visibilities or dirty stores or older facilities and whatnot. And store number 3, you may write down that the store number 3 is a newer facility, much more attractive. Maybe it does less business, but you know more opportunities in that business that you can grow with. So again, all these things you need to write down about all these 3 or 4 businesses. Then it's time to see which one weighs more on the positive side and less on the negative. Once you know that, buy that business. Negotiate first, of course. You need to negotiate the price. Figure out how the financing will work if you have all the cash to pay for all the inventory and the deposit and whatnot. Remember, there are always deposits. Let's say a owner is asking $50,000 for a business and inventory at cost. It does not mean that you can only pay for that $50,000 and let's say $35,000 of the inventory and be done with it. There might be an deposit by your fuel company. The oil company that delivers you the fuel, they may ask for $20,000 deposit. There might be your utility companies asking for thousands of dollars worth of deposit. I know most power companies in the States ask for 2 months worth of deposit. Let's say your bill runs $2,000 a month, they would want $4,000 deposit. So these are the things you need to take into consideration when making your budget. So once again, once you know out of those businesses which one you would buy, negotiate hard and take the plunge and buy the business. But when you take that step to buying that business, my advice to you is involve an attorney. It may cost you a few $100s, but make sure the closing documents are done properly. It will save you a lot of headache in the long run. Make sure the fuel contract, if you remember 3 episodes ago, we talked about contracts. Remember to read all these contracts, especially the fuel contract. If you have to have it reviewed by your attorney, by all means do so. And the lease that you're getting, let's say you're not buying it with land, you're buying the lease. Whoever is the landowner will furnish you with a new copy of a lease, commercial leasing agreement. This is one of the most important documents that you need to have it reviewed by an attorney, because there might be a clause where it says in 30 days notice they can cancel the lease. Make sure there is no smoking gun such as that in the lease. You may read it, you may not understand it because these are mostly written in a lot of legal terms, using a lot of legal terms and languages that are hard to understand for people like me and you. So it is a good investment to have your lease reviewed by somebody who is a professional in that. Now, number 6 is work hard at your business. Meaning, let's say you're a well-off guy, meaning you're a well-off person, you have lots of money, you wanted to get into a business and you bought a business for a couple of $100,000 and the business came with a set of employees and you decided to keep him and you're running the business, meaning they're working and you're just going in there and picking up the money, taking it to the bank and whatnot, and you have a manager that's working. To me, that is a bad idea. This is not how you will ever learn the business. Idea is you need to work at the business. And the way I explain to everybody is you need to spend 6 months in your business. If you're new to this, if you're seasoned businessman or owner and you already are in gas station business, then you already know what takes place. But for anybody, and since this episode is targeted towards people that are not in this business as of yet, you guys need to spend 6 months in your business every day, regardless if it's a weekend or weekdays, whatever it is. Dedicate 6 months and do everything from, as I said, cleaning the parking lot, to cleaning the restrooms, to running the registers, to placing the order with the vendors, dealing with the vendors, counting whatever product comes in through the door, making the deposit, making the schedule. Yes, I'm not saying you shouldn't have any employees, but spend as many hours as you can in your business. But make sure to learn how to run register, because that is one thing you need to know how to do. Not because if your employees don't show up, you need to work, but because this is where people, your employees, can steal from you. If you don't know how the void key works, if you don't know how the sell suspend button works, or no sell button that opens the door, then you're being blind in your own business. And it's not a good idea to be blind in your business. You need to have your eyes open. You need to be more knowledgeable about that register system and the whole business itself than your employees, so they cannot pull a fast one on you. I have seen where employee says, I hit this button and this is what happened, that's why I came up short. No, if you know how to run the register, you know exactly how it works and when the void key has been used and how the sales suspend button works. So these are the things you need to do. And one more added benefit that you get from staying behind the register time to time is you get to know your own customers. You need to start bonding with them. You can get to know them by first name basis. You can ask them what they're looking for that we don't carry yet. And you can start merchandising it to their likings. And trust me, if you do this for 6 months, whatever business you take, you will increase that business by at least 20% just by spending time in that business. But once you do that, you know you've learned the business in and out, and then you can grow from there and do other things. But very vital thing that you can do to your business is once you do all these steps, once you buy the business, spend that time learning your business. You need to know all the name of all the beers and the soda and the flavored soda that you carry. You need to know how much they roughly cost so you can figure out when a vendor comes in and says, I got a new flavor of this and it costs this much. You need to exactly know, okay, this compares to that one. That one we sell it for $1.79, so we should retail this for $1.79 as well. But if you didn't know that, every time they come in with new product, you're going with your calculator, you're trying to figure out how to price this, how to do this, how to do that. Instead, know this by heart, and trust me, if you spend 6 months in your business knowing everything there is to know about this business, how to stock the cooler, how to even, as I said, clean the restroom. I've done it. I still do it sometimes. So you need to know everything. So when you delegate this to an employee, they know the boss knows how to do it and they do it often. So they won't argue with you because you have done it yourself. So you're not telling somebody to do something that you have never done. Let's say your employee got sick all of a sudden. You don't know how to run the register. What will you do? shut the store down? Call some other employees? What if they can't show up? What will you do? These are the reasons you need to learn how to run your own store. So God forbid, if you lose all your employees, your store will still be operating. Yes, you will be one tired person, but your store will still be running. And this will help you grow your business, because once you know your business in and out, you know exactly nobody can fool you, can pull a fast one on you, or trick you into believing something which is not true. Well, okay, so the last point is grow your business and enjoy the fruit. What I was just touching about in the last point, which is once you know that this is how it works, once you figure this out, and for anybody like myself and you with average IQ, it shouldn't take more than 6 months. Well, most likely it will take you 3 months to figure out what's going on. But again, spending about 6 months helps you a lot of different ways. One is you cut your labor down and your manager's salary because you're doing everything. So you're spending time, energy, and your money into the business. So whatever problem you may have at the beginning, you're working that out. So in 6 months, your business should become a well-oiled running machine, meaning all the hiccups have been taken care of. You know exactly who comes in what day, what vendors show up what day, what product you should order, depending on the timing of the year. So anytime you walk into your business, you look at an invoice from a Coca-Cola and see the invoice is for $1,000, you don't get scared because you know in June, your average purchase is around that. Similarly, in wintertime, if you see that your beer sales has gone down, you don't panic because you know your beer sales usually go down in the winter. But to know any and all of these, you need to spend time day to day, every day, and finding out whatever you need to find out about that business. How, let's say, a nozzle in your gas station pump is leaking. If you call somebody, they will charge you a trip charge and the price of the nozzle and the time they spend replacing the nozzle. Let's say nozzle cost about $50, but you will spend about $300 replacing that nozzle. But if you knew how to just untwist that nozzle and twist it back in with just 2 different tools, which is a very easy thing to do, you would save that $250. But if you spend 6 months in a gas station, chances are you will learn how to do that. And similarly, a lot of times when there is a mini storm, let's say rainstorm of any type, there are times your register can go crazy. It can turn off, it can flicker. And any time that happens, if you call somebody, a tech support or somebody, they will charge you $300-400 just to come out and check it out. But if you knew how to reboot your system, if you knew how to reboot your satellite or your broadband connection, you save a lot of money in repairs and maintenance, because this will happen in a gas station environment. And as long as you know how to work at those basic things, I don't want you to open it up, change the board or something, but there are a lot of basic preventive maintenance and tweaks that you can do at the time that you need to do it. For example, as I said, it happens in one of our stores often. Every time rain hits, the register would flicker, go off, and it may trip a breaker. So we would just go check the breakers, then turn off the register, meaning we would shut it down and reboot it back up, and it will be working fine. But first 2 times we had to call somebody, and they came, did the exact same thing, and charged us $300. Similarly, a lot of times if there is a storm, your broadband can go offline. All you have to do is reboot the system, and it will work. There are times a couple of your pumps will not be pumping. Why? Because somehow the breaker in the back room has tripped. We have called people, maintenance for those. They came, charged us a couple of $100, just turned the breaker, flipped the breaker on, and left. So these are the basic things that you learn when you spend time in your own business. Now, once you've done that, you became an expert in your own business. And you feel confident that, hey, I'm making $7,000, $8,000 right now, so I'm ready to grow. Well, don't jump too high too fast. Take your time, save some money, and then contact some brokers and some online brokers and whatnot and talk to some vendors and say, I'm looking for my second store. Start the same process again, but this time it's easier for you because you know the in and out of the business. This time you may not even hire a CPA to look at their books because you know exactly what you're looking for because you look at your own books every day. So this is how you grow. This is how we all have grown. And it's time for you to grow as well. But the way you can grow is by working hard and smart at the same time. But you cannot climb the tree and be on the top the very first try. So you need to take one step at a time. And as I said, work hard. And once you know your business, you're making money, save some money, start looking for the second business or the third business, and take one step at a time, slowly understand the process, and then again, do your due diligence and buy your second business. But this time, since you already know the process, you may hire a manager that you have known for a while and put them in charge. Just supervise them, monitor everything, and grow that way. And soon enough, you will have 4 or 5 businesses that you monitor from a central location. I've seen that happen. I've done it myself. So I'm sure you can do it as well. Okay, once again, we have covered quite a bit. And again, it is for the people that haven't taken the plunge to get into the business yet. So any of you have any question, please feel free to email me and I will answer your question. Now, the book that I have for this week is called 4-Hour Chef by Tim Ferris. I'm sure you may remember when I recommended his first bestseller many episodes ago, maybe on the episode number 1 or 2. The book is called 4-Hour Workweek. I was fascinated by his work. And the reason, I mean, that book has a lot of wonderful things. And one of the things that sticks out in my mind is when he talked about how you are an expert as long as you know more than other guys, other people. So, and I have taken that to my heart because if you think about it, just for yourself, you most likely have a passion about something and maybe you know about that passion more than a lot of other people. And as long as that is true, then you are an expert in that subject. You may not be the ultimate expert, but you can get there by learning more about your passion. And that's what he talks about, where everybody is an expert on something. And similarly, in this book, it's about food, as you can imagine. And I'm a foodie, so I bought the book and I read it, and it's a wonderful book. And there is a lot of things in this book. It's not just a cooking book. I use the word food, but of course it's about food, but it's not about a recipe book or cooking book. But I don't want to give out too much because I want you to read that book and enjoy that. But one thing I enjoyed in this book, he mentioned something about meta-learning. It's a meta-learning process that I've enjoyed very much. And you can take that concept and use it in a lot of different aspects of your life. Now, one quick announcement. I've been working on a book that I will be publishing in next few weeks, and I'm almost done with it. I've already sent it to an editor and have it edited, and now I'm working on the cover page and all that. So it will be done in a few weeks, and the book is about marketing and how to increase sales in 60 days by 25%. I've used a lot of real life examples. So it will be out in a couple of weeks, and I will let you know once it is out. And if you're interested, you can read about it. You can read it and give me a feedback on that book. Now, lastly, I have a humble request. If you enjoy my podcast and if you think I'm contributing some kind of value to your business, I would love to see a review on iTunes from you. I would consider that as a thank you for the work I do. So please go to iTunes and leave a review if you think I'm adding some good value. Only if you think that. So the next episode will be a fun one because I think in the next episode, I'm working on the show notes right now, but I believe it's going to be the next episode where I will be talking about some other ways that I make money, and I think you can too. And it's not about gas station. It's about some other passive ways that I make money. And I think I've gave out some hints here. Passive ways to make money. So look out for that episode. And in the meantime, take good care of yourself. And I will talk to you soon.
This has been the one and only Gas Station Business 101 podcast with your host, Shabir Hossain. This podcast was brought to you by CSB Academy Publishing Company. Be sure to join us next time as we share with you the secrets about how to start and operate a gas station business successfully and make money.